Due to the controversial nature of Agrippina's life, our understanding of it remains largely subjective, a result of the varied and biased ancient sources which historians work with. Still, personal interpretation is vital in achieving an understanding of their time. This is done by synthesizing information from sources while accounting for perspective and reliability and coming to a consensus. I'll look at the most contentious points in Agrippina's life, in distinct moments under Caligula, Claudius, and Nero, and construct my most likely narrative. Accusations of an incestuous relationship with Caligula. As introduced by Suetonius, pictured in the top right, in his work The 12 Caesars, specifically the portion shown, the idea that Agrippina was engaged in improper and incestuous relationships is common among ancient writers. However, personal biases from Suetonius' social context to misogyny give reason to the claims being embellishments. Thus, considering external motives from Suetonius, his lack of reliability, and input from modern historians, I believe it to be untrue that Agrippina's relationship with Caligula was incestuous. The favours granted to Agrippina were most likely actions to make up for the past emperor Tiberius' role in Germanicus' death and Agrippina the Elder's suicide, especially considering his sisters were some of his only remaining family. The plot of the Three Daggers. The plot of the Three Daggers is certainly not the only moment one could point to where Agrippina might have attempted to or killed a husband. Dio Cassius in Roman history uses information of Agrippina's exile and sources before him to describe it with motivations of lust, a theme that circulates among these writers. The death of his favoured sister and Caligula's possible madness discredit his accusations to a certain degree to both me and modern historians like Ledbetter. Due to Agrippina's ambition for power, I believe she would have favoured an emperor of her choosing in Lepidus, and may have engaged in an idea of overthrow, but due to the details of the plot being unknown, I don't believe that the concept ever came to actual fruition. The possible murder of Crispus. The idea that Agrippina murdered Crispus to attain his wealth was not the perspective of the time, the populace feeling sympathy for her. Suetonius first drew the connections of the timing of his death and the benefits for Agrippina. Despite Suetonius' inclusions of rumour and untrustworthy claims of poisoning, as well as doubts from modern sources like Diorio, I'm inclined to see the logic in his assertion. Accepting that Agrippina murdered Crispus means accepting the merit of all claims of murder against her. Despite some doubts, my knowledge of Agrippina's ambition for power, which Crispus couldn't give her, and the benefits his death gave her, lead me to believe that Agrippina played some role in his death. All of Tacitus, Suetonius, and Dio Cassius offer differing accounts of how Agrippina poisoned Claudius. To many, these claims are accepted as fact, yet, with knowledge of a writer's biases and common themes in their work, as well as modern medical research on the nature of his death, I doubt their claims. I'm unable to see a political motive for Agrippina to murder Claudius. The idea that he began to favour Britannicus over the far more prepared Nero seems unlikely. While I accept that Agrippina may have murdered a previous husband, I believe that Claudius died of natural causes. Accusations of seducing Nero and the nature of their relationship. All available ancient sources depict Agrippina's relationship with Nero as extremely controlling and abusive. In Tacitus' Annals, he shows Agrippina as rageful and power-hungry, resorting to seduction to stop her relationship with a freedwoman. Modern historians are knowledgeable of Tacitus' tendency to characterize Agrippina as seductress and critique it. I believe that Agrippina most definitely took advantage of her son's power as emperor in a controlling relationship that is the likely cause to Nero's defiance. Upon his relationship with Acte, I accept that Agrippina would be enraged, but I see it to be wholly untrue that she seduced him. The death of Agrippina. At a point in writing where they met the death of Agrippina, Tacitus, Suetonius, and Dio Cassius each offer their own absurd stories. Considering the eventful, dramatic, and controversial life of Agrippina, it's clear that their depictions of her death would be even more fantastical than their stories of her seduction or treachery. Suetonius, for example, offers stories of self-collapsing roofs and ships, shown in the excerpt of the 12 Caesars. I believe that Nero did in fact attempt to frame Agrippina's suicide in a manner close to how sources depict, but I aligned my understanding of her actual death with the story that, after his failings, Nero sent assassins to Agrippina who would thereby murder her. Thus, this concludes my constructed narrative of the most contentious, impactful, and influential moments of Agrippina's life. By synthesizing sources, I've created a personal interpretation of the life of Agrippina the Younger.